All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a really powerful idea from the Raft to Freedom program. It's a concept that gets right to the core of so many of our inner struggles. We're going to talk about something called Māra, and how just learning to recognize this voice of craving can absolutely change the game on your journey.
Just think about that for a second. We always prepare for the big, dramatic storms in life, right? But what if the thing that's most likely to pull you off course isn't some huge external event, but something way more subtle, something inside, a quiet, persuasive little whisper that can have you heading in the wrong direction before you even notice?
Well, that whisper, that's our focus today. It's like having these hidden reefs or deceptive mirages in your own mind. You know the ones. There are those inner voices that are so good at convincing you to fall back into old habits, or they rationalize choices that you know aren't really helping. This is that unseen inner saboteur at work.
So it's time to put a name to this voice. In some of the world's oldest wisdom traditions, this inner saboteur actually has a name, Māra. Now, before your imagination runs wild, we're not talking about some devil with horns and a pitchfork. Not at all. Think of Māra as a powerful metaphor for what's going on inside our own heads.
So what is Māra, really? Well, to put it simply, Māra is the name we give to those internal patterns that just keep us stuck. It's the personification of that feeling of compulsion, that deep craving, that clinging to things we think are going to make us happy, and that flash of reactivity when things don't go our way. That's Māra.
Now, for most of us, our gut reaction is to fight these urges, right? We try to wrestle them into submission, push them down, and then beat ourselves up for even having them in the first place. But that just leads to this exhausting, frustrating cycle. The RAFT program asks a really different question. What if, instead of fighting the voice, we just learn to recognize it?
And here's where it gets really fascinating. There's this surprising detail from the old texts. After his awakening, Gautama, the Buddha, didn't see Māra less. He actually saw him more often. Now, how on earth does that make sense? Well, it's because awakening doesn't just make temptation vanish. What it does is it gives you crystal clear vision, letting you see every little trick and disguise for what it really is. And this brings us right to the heart of the whole practice. You see, Gautama's secret weapon wasn't more willpower or some epic battle. He didn't engage at all. The entire shift, the real power, came from a place of calm, simple awareness. It was all about direct recognition. Yeah, it all came down to these 4 simple words. I see you, Māra. Just by calmly naming the voice of craving, he took away its power. He didn't get angry, he didn't get scared, he just acknowledged it was there. And that simple act of naming gives us back our power. It creates this crucial bit of space between an impulse and our action.
Okay, so that's the principle. But how do we actually use this in our day-to-day lives? Well, the RFT program gives us a really practical tool for this, and it cleverly uses the acronym MARA to guide us when those urges pop up.
So here's how it breaks down. M is for mindful, just remembering to remember what you're doing and why. A is for awareness, getting curious, in a friendly way, about what's actually happening in your mind and body. R is for respond, not react. And that's the key, right? Creating that pause so you can choose. And the final A is for appropriately, making a choice that's actually wise and kind for you. And if you want to go deeper on that awareness step, the Raft program suggests using your body as a kind of radar, looking through 6 different lenses. You can check your breathing and your posture. Are they getting tense? Clear comprehension is about seeing the empty promise behind the urge. You can also tune into the reality of the body, noticing physical sensations, sometimes called the elements, like heat or pressure. And reflecting on aging/decay can put a fleeting urge into a much bigger, much wiser perspective.
This isn't just ancient philosophy. Modern science totally backs this up. The neuroscientist Dr. Judson Brewer puts it perfectly. He says, awareness is the difference between a habit and a choice. It's the little switch that lets you get off autopilot. That moment you can say, I see you, Māra. That's the moment you get your power to choose back.
So let's zoom out for a second. How does this one single practice fit into the bigger picture of the whole Raft to Freedom framework? Well, it turns out it's not just one piece. It's woven through the entire thing.
Seriously, look at how beautifully this fits. Seeing Māra is the first step. Recognize. Once you see it clearly, it helps you abandon the urge because you see it's just an empty promise. And that leads to freedom, those amazing moments of peace where a trigger just doesn't have a hold on you anymore. And finally, this becomes the way you train yourself over and over in compassionate self-awareness. It's all connected.
I really love this modern way of thinking about it. Instead of treating Māra like an enemy you have to destroy,
What if you just invited him to tea? It's a wonderful metaphor for meeting those difficult thoughts and urges with a kind of mindful curiosity. You acknowledge they're there, you listen, but you remain the calm host who's ultimately in charge of the house.
So, it's really important to get this. Recognizing Māra isn't a magic trick. It's not a one-and-done fix. It's a continuous practice. It's a core skill that helps you navigate your journey with a lot more wisdom and a lot more grace.
Now, I want to be really clear that all of the material in this explainer comes directly from the Raft to Freedom workbook. It was written by Dr. Catherine Jacob and Vince Cullen. And in what is just an incredible act of generosity, they've made the entire 67-chapter workbook available completely free for everyone online.
So, if you want to explore this idea more or discover the many other tools in the program, you can find the whole thing right there at rafttofreedom.org.
So, as we close out, I want to leave you with a question to just sort of mull over. In your own life, what might it look like to start developing this capacity? What would it feel like to meet that inner voice, not with a battle, but just with a clear, calm, simple recognition, I see you? I'll leave you with this final thought from the poet Rumi, which I think captures it all. The moment you recognize your cage, you are already free. The rest is simply walking out. That moment of recognition, that's seeing Māra, and that is the very beginning of freedom. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.